the world do you, Mitt Romney, justify making more in one day than the median American family makes in a year while paying an effective tax rate of the guy who has to scan your shoes at the airport?
I pay all the taxes that are legally required and not a dollar more. I don't think you want someone as the candidate for president who pays more taxes than he owes.
No, but you might want one who thinks that's wrong.
Well, Mitt Romney continues to defend his right to pay a lower tax rate than his secretary. President Obama continued to push for the Buffett rule again today.
Let's follow the Buffett rule, named after Warren. If you make more than $1 million a year, you should pay a tax rate of at least 30%. On the other hand, if you make less than $250,000 a year, which is 98% of you, your taxes shouldn't go up. And I just want to make clear, the reason I've proposed this is not because we begrudge financial success in this country.
Joining me now, national co-chair of the Romney campaign and former Minnesota Governor Tim Pawlenty. Governor, thank you very much for joining me tonight.
Good evening, Lawrence. Thanks for having me on the show.
Now, I know you're here to speak for candidate Romney, but I want candidate Romney to speak for himself just for a second on video with Larry Kudlow today talking about the Buffett rule. Let's just listen to what he had to say.
Is this Buffett tax designed to come at you?
Well, it's designed to come at me if I'm the nominee. If I happen not to be the nominee, he'll still take the 99 versus 1 attack. I mean, he's really trying to divide America and to try and say that Republicans are all about the rich people. Look, Republicans are about middle-class Americans. I'm fighting to help middle-class Americans get better jobs and better incomes.
So, Governor Pawlenty, what was the panic level today inside the Romney campaign when that CBS poll came out showing that 91% of the public agreed with the president's proposals in the State of the Union address last night?
Well, I don't think there was any panic at all, because I think as this debate unfolds, we take great solace in the wisdom of the American people and history, Lawrence, and you know this. Class warfare rhetoric and arguments almost never works, in fact, doesn't work in American politics. Barack Obama should be focusing on growing the pie, not inciting people to fight with each other over ever-shrinking pieces of the pie. And if I might just offer one moment of tutorial on taxes. Mitt Romney's taxes, when he earned the money before he actually invested it, was taxed as income initially. At today's rate, the highest marginal rate, 35%. Then he invested it.
We don't know that, but Governor, we don't know that. I don't want to interrupt you, but we don't know because he'll have to show us 20 years of tax returns to prove that. And we actually believe that he was taxed at that much lower rate that investment bankers managed to benefit from.
All right, but just hang with me just for a second, because I know you and your audience. So let's say that he earned the income. He got taxed at a high marginal rate, currently 35%. Then he invests it. It's a capital gain. It's not income. He pays another 15% on that gain. And by the way, the companies, in most instances, if they are formed as Subchapter C companies, they're paying taxes before they distribute the proceeds to the shareholders. So it's a lot more complicated than just saying, he only paid 14% or 17%. And then beyond all of that, the main point is this. Barack Obama should be focused on growing the economy, not pitting American versus American to fight with each other over shrinking pieces of the pie.
Well, the president says what he's advocating is common sense, not class warfare. But I want to go to one other piece of the State of the Union address last night, Governor, where President Obama went directly at Mitt Romney on the auto bailout. Let's listen to that.
On the day I took office, our auto industry was on the verge of collapse. Some even said we should let it die. With 1 million jobs at stake, I refused to let that happen. In exchange for help, we demanded responsibility. We got workers and automakers to settle their differences. We got the industry to retool and restructure. Today, General Motors is back on top as the world's #1 automaker.
The General Motors is #1 after President Obama bailed them out. Mitt Romney said that General Motors should be allowed to die, that we shouldn't do that auto bailout. Pretty bad call for Mitt Romney on that one.
Well, not at all, Lawrence. Let's look at the facts. Mitt Romney said We live in a nation that has the rule of law. So you don't get special treatment just because you're General Motors or you're, fans of the president. So Mitt Romney called for a structured, pre-planned bankruptcy of General Motors under existing law, and the result would have been a successful result. You know what Barack Obama did? He also oversaw a structured bankruptcy of General Motors, but guess what he did? He then took special goodies and parting gifts and gave them to his buddies, the UAW. So the main difference between those two approaches, Mitt Romney on the rule of law, equal playing field, go use the same system as everybody else. Barack Obama did that to a point, but then he gave away the political parting gifts, the crony capitalism gifts, to the UAW and others involved in the transaction.
So your argument on the auto bailout is that President Obama somehow made General Motors much less efficient by giveaways to labor, but then, miraculously, General Motors becomes, again, the number one and most successful automaker in the world. Not just the United States, the world.
They went through a structured bankruptcy and became more efficient, became more streamlined. They did that themselves to suggest that Barack Obama's gifts to the unions that supported him during the campaigns and his parting gifts to them as part of the heavy hand of government and the crony capitalism he used is what turned around General Motors is ludicrous. I mean, that is outrageous. Barack Obama, by the way, has no history, no connection, no executive leadership, no experience in the entrepreneurial economy, the private economy. His entire life has been in government or government-related activities. That's in direct contrast to Mitt Romney, who spent the bulk of his life as an entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur, starting, investing, growing businesses, and providing jobs. That's a big difference, and that's the kind of experience I want in the next president in these times.
Can you point to me in our presidential history to the great businessman who turned out to be the great president of the United States?
Well, I think there has been a number of people who've been in business in one way. Ronald Reagan was a businessman, also an actor, obviously, primarily, but in the private sector. Well, in the private sector.
Private sector, okay. He was the president of a union. He was president of the Screen Actors Guild. He's one of those labor thugs.
All right. Well, how about Abraham Lincoln? He was a lawyer and had some investments. Well.
I don't
George
think
Washington was a businessman, Lawrence. Lawrence, how about George Washington?
He was a general. It's what makes me laugh about the businessman model, Governor. We've never had one. A businessman has never made a good president of the United States yet. If we have one, we can maybe someday point to that.
Here's what it does take. And I think many people who've been around this president, look, he has his strengths and weaknesses, as we all do. But it is fair to say that he did not have a very deep understanding, appreciation, or experience in private enterprise, the private economy, the entrepreneurial economy, or for that matter, even basic executive function, executive leadership, executive seasoning. And people who have been around him have said the presidency and his leadership has suffered as a result. He gives a great speech, but when you put somebody who hasn't really run anything, hasn't really done anything in terms of executive function, and put him in the most powerful position in the world, that's a bad combination.
Governor Tim Pawlenty with the Romney campaign and still at the top of my short list for Mitt Romney's candidates for vice president. Thank you very much for joining me tonight.
Not going to happen, but thank you.
Okay. Thanks.